No. Okay, this is a new platform. I am not quite sure how it's working. We'll just wait a few minutes for people to join. So it's definitely interesting. Okay. We're going to start just in a minute or two. Okay, well, we're live on, it looks like, YouTube, link, Facebook, and StreamYard. So that's great to see that that's working. I'm going to kick this off on the session on why you need a cybersecurity risk assessment. So why we're here. Yep, and it's to protect your business from the rising tide of cyber risks. They are happening all the time. As a small business, we may not necessarily see them, because we carry on our day-to-day business, but they are happening all around us. Yeah, at the end of the session, there's 2 free things that we're going to be offering. One is a free external scan of your business to see what that risk looks like externally, and a free 20-minute cybersecurity session with me to go through in more detail. Yep, so who are we? So I am Timothy Clarkson, Auction IT. I have been running Auction IT for over 20 years here locally in Christchurch. We are a trusted IT business for across Christchurch, Wellington, Auckland, and we've got customers across in Sydney. We specialise in IT security and are now moving into AI. The whole goal of this session today is really bring our protection of your biggest asset, your business, to market. In this agenda, we're going to go through why you need a cybersecurity risk assessment. Yep, and that would mainly be because hackers lurk. Yep, what I mean by that is we had a architectural firm. They didn't have much money in the bank account. Yet hackers infiltrated their systems. They waited till there's a $6 million payment for a supplier. At that point, they got ransomware and from the business email compromise, and they had to make that tough decision. Did they pay the $6 million or did they go out of business? Yep. How does the process work? Yep. Well, with us, it's about 2 to 4 weeks of engagement. Not a whole lot of time, but a whole lot of testing of systems and staff and people. So it fits nice and easily into the business, and we'll go through the process in more detail later in the slides. Yep. And as I said, the immediate action you can take away today is we're going to send out to all those people who attended and registered is a scan of your domain and to see if you've got data on the dark web or whether or not your site is protected. So why listen to us? Biggest reason why is I've been hacked and I'm an IT provider. 7 years ago, I brought a business from another IT provider. The owner was retiring. He was 65. He didn't pay a lot of attention, didn't really think about cybersecurity, and they got into our data center and encrypted our data. Now, I had no real big impact because we had other backups, but at that point, it highlighted to me that if something like that could happen to me, what's happened to my customers? And that's when we pivoted from a traditional IT firm to more cybersecurity focused. And then more recently, we move into AI governance and strategy and cybersecurity as that becomes the big thing. Yep. Also, I go away 2 to 3 times a year to international conferences to attend with other peer groups and vendors to see what is happening in the marketplace to bring back to the New Zealand market. So we are ahead of the curve. Yep. So what is a cybersecurity risk assessment? Yep. It's a tool and a process we use to go through and understand your business. Yep. We conduct them regularly for our customers to make sure that we're not exposing gaps to them, and we change to the environment. Cybersecurity isn't static. As we fix up one problem, the cyber threat, they move to something different to try and get through to you. So we constantly do cyber risk assessments, yep, to identify risks and priorities, look at your assets, yep, and the assets could be physical assets, it's your desktops, your servers, it could be your IP, your data, and your reputation. And from that, obviously, we also then become down into, we make those changes and how do we become efficient. Yep, and that's keeping you operational. So the framework we use, I kind of say it's like a chair. It's got 4 pillars. It's got the people. Yep, they work with a process and technology and the data. An example could be an accountant, so that's your person. The processes, they're doing your tax returns. Technology is they're using a spreadsheet, and the data is your financial information. Yep, and the most breaches come from people, but it's not just the person. Some other facility or exploit needs to be available for that to be an issue. Exploiting your process, like you don't have two-factor authentication, exploiting your technology, you don't have antivirus or the right antivirus on your device, so it allows that to run. And then the data is obviously what they're after, either ransomwaring you or getting your customers' data. So we come to protect the people, it's 80 to 90% depend of what source you go to of data breaches are human based. Why? And why is this the biggest risk? Well, humans are emotional. We're easy to exploit. Yep. And attention to detail makes us vulnerable. Even if you've trained your staff, yep, training the staff is not enough. They are vulnerable. I can give an example. I implement the training for my business, and we're an IT firm. And one Saturday morning, I got caught out. I was making okay. Is that better? Okay. Um, Sorry about that. And we technical glitch there. Yeah. So if we think about it, like here's a real world example. A law firm in Wellington. It was an ANZ impersonation. So that's business email compromise with social engineering. Got into the firm, inside, and got the details. It can happen to anybody. We're really lucky that they actually published it. A lot of businesses don't actually publicize. They took the approach of, this is so significant, we need to actually let people know what's going on. If I go back, is from another person-related incident. We had an 8-figure business in Wellington. Yep, they wouldn't implement our security, so they $1.4 million in an email transaction. Is it still working? Can you hear me? Yeah. Okay. So apparently, some platforms we have a problem, but this will be recorded, so it'll be Yep. So yeah, that was a construction company. It lost $1.4 million transferred out of their bank account, and that's a failure of business email compromise. They got into the system, but also process. They shouldn't have been able to change an invoice and pay $1.4 million out of the system without the right processes in place. And then even more recently, last month, it's not a client of mine, but from the point of sale side, which is another part of the business we have, a fruit and veggie store, not a common target. It's small, doesn't have a lot. They lost $140,000 via business email compromise. They got in and changed who the supplier details were, and that's devastating to that business that size. Process. This is the second part. Is a lot of these issues come down to a failure of process also. Yep. So the number one in business email compromise is having two-factor authentication on your transfers. Do two people have to transfer the money? It's such a simple thing. It's not a technology issue. It's not something Oxygen IT helps with, but we can advise, and it's the sort of thing your accountant should help you with. The second thing is account validation. So like one of the tricks we do is when we set up a new supplier invoice, we'll transfer a small amount of money to that account and make sure it turns up on their statement before we transfer anything over, say, $5,000. So have you got the right processes in your business? Have you got the right processes in your business to make sure that when something else goes wrong, when a staff member's inattentive or gets compromised, that potentially your processes, are secure enough to keep you safe? Technology. That's why you think we'd be here, but it's only one part. It's only one part of it. So our framework is really designing technology to be like an Indiana Jones Temple of Doom. You've got all these different mazes to go through, from mail filtering to make sure that the bad emails that people send don't enter your mailbox, to checking the link. Like, yes, the mail got in my mailbox, but is the link taking me to Russia? Well, don't let that happen. And if it's still valid and somebody clicks on it, do I have the endpoint protections in place to stop that piece of code running that potentially makes me a risk point? And it's layering all those things on top of each other that gives you the security. It's not just endpoint protection or mail filtering, but it's bringing all these parts together. And then we move to the fourth part, which is protecting the data. Typically, people think of protecting the data, they are going to think about ransomware of themselves. Like, if my data gets encrypted, what happens? And yes, that's an issue, but we tend to find most days that people have good backups. If you've got a backup, you can recover your data. So it has a business impact. You could be down from 3 days to a week or 2 weeks, but you're still going to get your data back that runs your business. The other part is data extraction. And this is a major issue. It's what the attackers are moving to, which we call double extortion. They try to extort you for the ransomware on your device and extort you by saying, hey, we've uploaded all your contractual IP information. If you don't pay us, we're going to release that. And then the third part of the data that tends to be unspoken about and people forget about is the personally identifiable information, passports, ID, email addresses. It's become more and more valuable as people have trouble getting ransomware payments through systems, that they'll extract that data and they sell that on the dark web to other people. So even though you think the data you've got may not be that valuable in of itself, the fact that you have relationships with suppliers and customers and details about them, that makes you a target. That has value to them. Example of that is, as you can see, the data breach from Health New Zealand, leaked information, and then a couple of months ago, MediSecure in Australia. They lost 13 million medical records, 6.5 terabytes of data, and at the end of it, they looked at the time to analyze the data loss, the impact of the information, and setting up validation for credentials and all the costs associated with it. They had to go to the government and say, would you bail us out? And the answer was no. So that's a massive business out of business. This isn't just small businesses that go bust within, a year of this happening. Massive businesses can be brought to their knees by this as well. So what does it look like and how long will it take? Pardon me, I should have got myself a drink of water. So we do a cybersecurity session with you, which involves the executive team for no more than 30 minutes. We interview the leadership. This is about aligning your IT and security to your business. So the whole reason behind this isn't just give you antivirus, but does your security align up with the goals you're trying to drive forward with growth, profitability, compliance, or risk mitigation, risk minimization? Once we've done that, we do some technical stuff. We test your staff, we scan for data and vulnerabilities. Yep, that's the risk assessment component. Then we come and present our findings for you, which is an hour. We spend about an hour with you and walk you through what we found and what risk you have. And from there, you can then obviously take a course of action. Cyber insurance, will it cover you, and do you have it? So we hear some horrendous stats out of America and Australia of, only 25% of businesses actually have cyber insurance. I don't have that problem. I work with customers who have cyber insurance because it's a risk mitigation for yourselves, and it provides us the funds required to remediate and get you back up and running. But just because you've got cyber insurance, if you haven't taken the right measures, you think you're covered, but you might not be covered. Think of, you've got car insurance. You think you're covered for full and comprehensive insurance. You go to the pub, you have a few drinks, you hop in the car and drive home, but you're over the limit. You've negated your insurance. The same can, thank you, Katie. The same can happen, and you might assume that your team. Sorry, it dropped out again. It's a new system called StreamYard, and still kind of learning how to navigate it there. It's a bit strange. So where was it? Yep, your IT team. They might be great at getting your laptop up and running. They might be great at setting your email signature, but do they know about the security of systems? Is that what they're specializing in, or is it an add-on to the service that they think they need to provide you? Yep. So where do we go from here? Yep. So you can do it alone. You can struggle through the cybersecurity. You can go to your existing IT provider and see if they can help you. Yep. Which is perfectly fine. If you go to your existing IT provider and they can't help you, we're more than happy to work with them to do an assessment and get you covered. Yep. Or if you need help with it, then you can, contact us. What we're going to offer for those people who have registered for this is, if we do a cyber risk assessment for you and you need help, then we'll put a credit of that assessment fee against the project work required to get some remediation. And what we're going to be offering, as I said, is a free scan. That free scan covers your dark web. Have you got passwords out there that criminals can pay cents on the dollar for to get access to your data now? Yep. Has some of your external systems been set up correctly? Is your firewall working correctly? And are you sitting behind some protected systems? So, pardon me. So, our whole thing when we're doing this is, working with us is about the training of the staff. Yep, I have heard, it's like, well, we've done training. Why do we need to do more training? And it's so critical that you do training consistently and often to bring that to front of mind for staff. And it's like a fire drill. You don't do a fire drill once and say we're done for the next 10 years. We constantly have to reinforce these behaviors into people. So, yep, if you're interested, reach out to me and we can book a cybersecurity session, yep, with our team, and we'll walk you through what's needed, and it takes about 20 minutes. So I appreciate everybody's time here today. Unfortunately, with the system I'm using, it looks like I don't get comments back in from LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. So I will reach out and contact you for feedback at your time today.